Good morning, folks, and happy Friday to you. I hope and pray that you're doing well as we wrap up what we call the work week and as we anticipate worship on Sunday. Let me remind you that you are cordially invited. You watch our videos, but you haven't been with us in person. You are cordially invited to come and worship on Sunday. Sunday school's at 9:45 and worship happens at 11 o'clock, so you do not want to miss that blessing. This week we are in episode number 5 in our message series on the cross, and I hope and pray that you'll make every effort to come and get a blessing from what God has for you this coming Sunday as we gather to worship at Oak Level. I want to read to you today from the book of James, chapter number 1. And I'm going to read verses 2 through 6, but I'm going to do a little bit of exposition along the way. James tells us this: "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials." Now, if he had said just that and put a period at the end of it and not said any more, that might seem kind of contradictory. As a matter of fact, it does seem contradictory to us as Christians or as people in general. Why should we be joyful when we fall into various trials? Trials are not a joyful thing. Trials are not a fun thing. But James tells us here under inspiration, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. Notice he says, "my brethren," which means he's speaking to Christians. So he's speaking to you and me. You know Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. This message is for you. "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials." Verse 3, "knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience." Each and every one of us will have something to test our faith at some point. But we need to understand that this testing will help us to develop that patience that we need. Patience, by the way, is one of the fruits of the Spirit. Verse number 4, "But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." James is not implying here that we are perfect per se. We know that as human beings we are not perfect, but what he's talking about is our establishment in our faith, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Verse number 5, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." Basically, what are we leading up to here, Christian? Number one, we know that we're going to have trials in this life. We can count it all joy because we know that when our faith is tested, we will develop that fruit of the Spirit, that patience that we need. And then James admonishes us to ask God for the wisdom that we need, and then he affirms for us that God will give it to us. And then verse number 6, here's the kicker, folks: "But let him ask in faith, with no doubting. For he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind." Christian, we are to ask for what we need of God in faith that we're going to get it. Not, well, I'm going to pray for it, but it might not happen. That's the absolute wrong attitude, folks. Reminds me of something I heard on a television show one time. A guy was getting ready to, in Alaska, a guy was getting ready to take his haul of furs that he had trapped over the trapping season to the buyer. And he was getting ready to leave, and he said, of course, the truck could break down on the way there. Well, you know, that's not an attribute of faith right there. An attribute of faith is, God, I know that you are sovereign, and I know that you promise never leave me nor forsake me, and I'm asking in faith for this blessing. Be it a blessing of healing, be it a blessing of comfort, be it a blessing of material thing. Maybe there's some kind of need. Whatever it is, ask in faith. It says, ask in faith with no doubting. Let me encourage you, Christian, don't doubt what God can do for you. And it doesn't matter if you're dealing with some kind of trial, because you're going to do that anyway. Continue to ask in faith for what you need, because God will give you what you need. and He's going to give you a lot of what you want. We don't focus on that a whole lot, but God certainly is going to see to our needs, and then every now and then He's going to see to our wants as well. But the bottom line is you'll be blessed. But the bottom line also is have faith, no matter what you may be going through. Why? Because that's going to test you, going to make you patient, and then you can ask in faith for whatever you need, knowing that God is going to give it. And I hope and pray this gives you some encouragement on this Friday, and I hope and pray that you have a wonderful day in the Lord. Don't forget, worship on Sunday, 9:45 Sunday School, 11 a.m. worship service. Come and be with us and enjoy the blessings that God has for you. Love you, folks, and I'll talk to you a little bit later. God bless you.